Hi everybody, today we're traveling from Toronto to PEI. It's going to be a month of this trip just because we want to truly explore as many provincial parks and all the beautiful things that each province has. This time we use a trailer instead of the tent. Of course, this was more comfortable, so we didn't have to be packing and unpacking every single time. Now, our first campsite was located in Charleston Lake Provincial Park. Halfway there, we stopped in the Big Apple. This is a big attraction, and you can spend maybe 2 or 3 hours if you want in this place. It is big. A lot of people stay here just to get some food. If you have small children, this is a good entertaining place for them. This place has a bunch of activities outside, and of course you have to pay for a few of them. In our case, we just wanted to see the petting zoo. Now, I just want to mention that you don't have to pay to see the animals, but you cannot pet them. And the reason of this is because they are located in different fences, and you can just put your finger through the fence, and that's it. After this, we continue driving towards Kingston. Here we visit the Marine Museum and of course the downtown. So if you're planning to visit the Marine Museum, I do not recommend it to you. The reason of this is because it is very small and a little bit pricey for what you're going to see. We saw the entire place in less than 20 minutes. So I don't know, it's not a place that I will totally recommend it to you. Now, after that, we continue walking towards downtown Kingston, and in general, the view is beautiful. Luckily, everything is close by, so you can walk. It is just pretty to be there. They have a lot of restaurants, by the way, and here we had the best ice cream. After that, we drove for 40 minutes to get to our first campsite in Charleston Lake Provincial Park. We stayed there for 3 nights. We ended up paying $50 per night. We have this big trailer and we wanted to have electricity and water. That's why we pay a higher price. But if you're going to sleep on tents or in your car or even small trailers without electricity or water, the price will be less. So that applies to all the campsites that we sleep in. This park wasn't that big, but the lake was just amazing. The water was super clear and not too cold. We really enjoyed it. We pretty much spent the 3 days here in the lake. We really enjoyed it. If this is the first time that you are visiting a provincial park, let me tell you that they do have comfortable showers and bathrooms if you are concerned about it. As well, you can wash and dry your clothing if you need to. After the 3 days, we start driving to our second campsite, La Loutre, which is located just 1 hour from downtown Quebec. From the first campsite to the second one here in Quebec, it's 6 hours. That is what the GPS says. But because we have a toddler, we literally had to stop every hour, every half an hour. And the total trip was 12 hours. That's why we didn't stop to check more things in Montreal. Other than eating in a restaurant and stopping for putting gas and buying some drinks here and there. That's why if you have children, make sure to always double the time that you are going to take. After that, for us, driving 6 hours was too much, and that's why in the rest of the trip we just drove a maximum of 4 hours, with pretty much every time turned into 8 hours because all the stops that we had to make. Now this park was just breathtaking. The view is fantastic. The water is extremely cold, so that's why not too many people were swimming in there. They do have these different mosquitoes that they bite, and the amount of blood that comes from your body is insane. So make sure to bring a good repellent or cover your body very well. Because we were so high in the mountain, this place is extremely cold, so make sure to bring good jackets and pants, because seriously the difference, even though we were in the middle of the summer, here we had to be with jackets and boots all the time. The next morning we drove for 1 hour towards downtown Quebec. And here the first attraction that we visited was the Montmorency Falls, and this is a must for sure. The place is beautiful. There are a bunch of activities that you can do there. In order to access here, you have to pay like $9 per person, and you have different points of view. In our case, we wanted to be on top of the waterfall. Pretty much remember that they have 3 parking lots, 2 located on the upper part, and from there you can see the waterfall so close. The other parking lot is located in the lower part of the waterfall, very close to the river, and from there of course you can see the waterfall, but it's going to be a little bit far away from you. And here you can see the map, so you have an idea of what I am talking about. Remember that the parking lot that is located to the right hand side, that is closer to the waterfall, so you don't have to walk much. The parking lot that we park at, we have to walk maybe 20 minutes to get to the waterfalls. And if you are into like big adventures and adrenaline, you have zip line, and you can even climb beside the waterfall. So this is a place that for sure you must visit. It was just beautiful. The second place that we visited was Old Quebec City. You can spend a couple of hours here just walking up and down the streets. They are very nicely maintained. They have a lot of plants here and there. In different corners you will see people singing or playing instruments, which is very nice. Now the stores are full of clothing or restaurants, so for me it was overpriced, but the view was cute. Now if you want to just buy water, there are no places where you can do it unless you go to a restaurant or a bar, which pretty much this place is full of. By the way, it was very hard to find parking lot here, so we had to drive for half an hour until we finally got something. The next morning we continued driving to our third campsite. This was located in Quebec, just in the border with New Brunswick. We stayed in this town for 3 days, and pretty much every single day we went to the marina because it was gorgeous. The view was phenomenal, even though a few days were cloudy, but still the environment, everything was perfect. And when it was sunny, we were able to stay a little bit at the beach, even though we couldn't go inside because the water was extremely cold, but the view is fantastic. A very important detail about this town is that they do have a ferry, and it goes to Les Escumis. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that well, but pretty much that is on the other side of Quebec, and of course you have to pass the St. Lawrence River. It would take 2 hours to go to the other side, and on the other side you have a chance to see a lot of whales, so they do have a couple of activities there. So here you can see the schedule that they have every single day and the price as well. Going on the ferry is a very good option if you don't want to drive so much on the highway and still get to the other side of Quebec. We ended up staying at the Camping Municipal de Trios Pistola, and this campsite does not have a lake or access to water directly. From here we had to walk kind of 20 to 25 minutes to the marina, or some days we took the car and it's just 5 minutes. They do have a swimming pool and of course different playgrounds for the little kids. I just want to mention that please bring jackets, boots, and whatever so you are warm, because literally from the city of Quebec on the upper part that we were camping, pretty much every single day was raining. Now we moved to this area and it's super cold, windy, and as you can see, fog. Even though we're in the middle of the summer, we were not expecting this. We continued driving to our fourth campsite, and here finally we arrived to New Brunswick. The drive there was beautiful. You will see a lot of mountains and lakes. Even though you are just on the highway, you will see beautiful things. We ended up staying at Mactaquac Provincial Park. This park is massive. They do have a golf club if you are interested in that sport. They do have a beautiful lake. Sadly, this time we couldn't swim on the lake because the levels of bacteria were very high. So they pretty much prohibit us to swim there. Thankfully, they did have a lot of space to run, hiking trails as well, and beautiful playgrounds. By the way, we ended up choosing this campsite because it was very close to Fredericton. I think it was just 31 kilometers to get to the town, and that's why we wanted something close to go back and forth because we stay here for 3 days as well. The next morning we woke up super early and drove for half an hour to Fredericton. The main thing that we wanted to see here was the Bill Thorpe walking bridge, and it was just amazing. I do want to recommend you to bring your bicycle. If you decided to go on bicycle, please choose the lakeshore area. They do have beautiful biking trails. There you can see a bunch of old buildings and just the environment is very nice. Now, downtown Fredericton is a small, so of course you can walk and see all of it, but seriously, the best way to travel in that area is on a bike. We continue our trip, and this time we move from Fredericton to St. John's. Now here we just did a quick stop in the reversible falls. There are two lookup points. One you have to pay and the one that you are seeing right now is free. So it's kind of the lower part. We stay here for a little bit and then continue driving to get to our next campsite, New River Beach Provincial Park, and we chose this place because it was located in the Bay of Fundy. The Bay of Fundy is a bay located between Nova Scotia and New Brunswick, and here you can see extremely high tides. So when we got to our campsite and then we went to the beach, we were able to see how the water went into the ocean like so deep, and then in the afternoon the water was back again to regular level. So it is a crazy thing to see, and any place that you stay on the Bay of Fundy, you will experience this. Now, if you're wondering about this campsite, it wasn't too big, but the most beautiful thing to see was the beach. And as soon as you get to the beach, you can breathe the air and it's just delicious. The water was quite warm and the sun started turning red, so it is just magical to be there. We continue our trip, and this time we stay at Fundy National Park. This park is massive, and just in case, you have to pay extra fees to enter this park. So per night is $16. We are just going to stay one night here and then continue to Moncton. After we went to our campsite, we immediately packed a few things and went to the beach to see the tides. So every day the tides will be a little bit different. In the Bay of Fundy, you can see 2 highs and 2 low tides each day. the time between a high and a low tide on average is 6 hours. So if you come back to the same place 2 or 3 days in a row, you will notice that the water is at its highest and lowest about an hour later each day. So for example, right now it's 3 in the afternoon and there is no water, but at 9 p.m. this will be covered with it. We had to walk more than 500 meters to get to the water, and we noticed that every 5 minutes we have to move our things because the water was getting closer. It was just shocking to see how fast the water comes up. The next morning we continue our trip and went to the beautiful Hopewell Rocks. And it's $15 per person. You can enter anytime throughout 2 days. And you cannot bring your own kayaks. So they don't allow you, but you can rent kayaks at this company that is located very close by. So you have a nice playground here and even a restaurant there. By the way, they always announce when the tides are going to be high or low. In our case, we arrived when the tides were low, and that's why we were able to just walk on the ocean floor. And that is the reason why they allow you to access this place 2 different days, so you have the opportunity to see both things. The walk to the rocks is 15 minutes, but if you don't want to walk, you have to pay $2 each way, and a golf cart will take you there. There are a bunch of stairs that you have to go down in order to be super close to the rocks. Make sure to bring good shoes. They recommend you to not bring sandals because if the floor is muddy, your sandals will get stuck and it's just difficult to walk. You do have to walk a lot, so be prepared for it. But seriously, it was just fantastic to be here. After visiting the rocks, we went to our new campsite and we stayed there for 1 night. Now, the beautiful thing about this campsite is that it's located just 5 minutes away from the Hopewell Rock Provincial Park. The next morning, we went to the nearest town, which is called Hillsborough. They have a train museum. Now, in order to access this place, you have to pay $13, and to be honest, it's not worth it. Now, we thought that we can access and see inside of the trains, but pretty much they are completely destroyed. When we arrived there, they don't tell you anything, so we were not sure if we were able to go inside of the trains. We did it, and then we started noticing that everything was broken, and it was just weird. Then we ended up walking to the end of the park, and they do have a museum there where you can see all the parts of the train and things like that. So at the door there are 2 high school students that they just pretty much check that you pay, and that's it. They don't tell you anything about it unless you ask. So it was quite pricey for what you are going to see. After this, we continued driving to Moncton. This city is big and you have a bunch of activities to do here. We wanted to check the Magnetic Hill Park, and here you have 4 activities to do. The one that we tried was the Magnetic Hill, which you have to pay $7.
So once you get to a certain pole there, that's white, it goes a little bit up, and then you just put it in neutral, but it goes extremely fast backwards on something that's flat. And then once you're going up, it keeps going really fast, makes you a little nervous. They shouldn't let any cars come by when you're going backwards, because you do need to press the brake, or else you'll make it all the way up if you don't press the brakes at all, which I try not to press them that much. I only press them like maybe twice. It is surprising though.
If you are the person who is driving, you will feel this, but if you are sitting on the back or at the front as a co-pilot, you will not feel anything. The other activity that we did here was visiting the zoo. In front of the zoo, there is this humongous water park that looks gorgeous. We didn't do it at all, but The zoo was fantastic. We spent the entire day there, and it is very entertaining for sure. In order to access the zoo, we had to pay $14 per person, and our child, it was too little, so he didn't have to pay anything. At the end of the day, we drove for 15 minutes to get to our campsite, and this place was very well maintained. So the nice thing is that it's located so close to the city and you don't have to drive too much. The next morning, we finally crossed from New Brunswick to PEI. And in order to get to PEI, we had to cross the Confederation Bridge, which is the longest bridge in Canada. It is 13 kilometers long, and you have to pay $8.50 each way if you want to cross it. At the end of the bridge, there is this beautiful lighthouse, and from here you can take a few pictures as well as appreciate more the bridge. Immediately after this, we continue driving to our next campsite, and here we have one of the best experience when we step on the beach sand. Here we experience some of the tide as well, and for that reason the ocean floor was uncovered and we were able to see a lot of shrimps, clams, snails. It was just such a weird feeling stepping on it, and it was gorgeous. Sadly, couldn't film because we were so entertained seeing all of it, but it was just fantastic. We stay in this place for 2 nights. The nice thing as well is that it's located just 25 minutes away from downtown Charlottetown. Another thing that you have to remember is that PEI is very small, so you can get to places very quick and you don't have to drive too much. Once again, this place is good if you have kids, so they have a lot of activities every single day. They have the swimming pool and of course the beautiful beach. The next morning, we went to explore Old Charlottetown. This area is small, and for that reason, you can see all of it in a couple of hours. If you don't have too much time, the best way to see all the town will be on a bicycle. Now, one of the places that everybody recommended us to visit was Cow's Ice Cream, and I don't know, I was not impressed too much about the flavors. For us, the best ice cream that we tried was in Kingston, Ontario. Now, if you're hungry, you will find a bunch of restaurants all over the place. There are 2 main locations where everybody goes because you find a lot of fast food. One is the Pig Skin Marina, and the other one is the Founders Food Hall and Market. We continue our trip to the upper part of PEI. It took 1 hour to get there, and we stayed at the Twin Shores camping area. This park was amazing. It was humongous, and because of that reason, they have 2 areas, and each area has a different beach. Definitely, this was one of the most expensive places that we stayed at. It cost us almost $100 per night, but it was totally worth it. The reason of this is because they have a lot of things there. For example, they have a restaurant, a coffee shop, and a lot of places for little ones to just play around if they don't want to go to the beach. As well, throughout the day, they have a bunch of activities for them and even for adults. As I mentioned before, the park is big. And here you have options of renting a bicycle or renting a golf cart. If you don't want to do that, you can just call the front desk and they will send a golf cart to pick you up from your campsite to the beach or vice versa. The beach was so beautiful that every single day we spent the entire day there taking the sand, the breeze, and the water was just perfect. The only bad thing that I will say about this place is that the showers are paid. This was very annoying because we never paid in any place that we stay at. This was just surprising for us. After the 4 days in PEI, we start heading back home. We couldn't visit Nova Scotia because they were having a lot of problems with floodings and the roads were completely destroyed. That's why we had to start our way back, and we stopped at River Run Resort in New Brunswick. It took us just 4 hours to get there. At this point, it was already more than 3 weeks since we started our trip, and we were getting tired of traveling. That's why from here to Toronto, we stay in every place just one night, and that's it. Now, this campsite wasn't the greatest. They keep the place quite disorganized and everything was very tight. The campers and trailers were so tight to each other that it felt like we didn't have space at all. As well, they didn't have a beach, so just to stay and chill out throughout the day, it's quite difficult if you want to be on the water. Now, if you have a boat, this will be a gorgeous place for you because the river is humongous, and of course you can spend the day on your boat. The next morning we continued driving to Quebec and we stayed at Bast Saint Laurent Coa Resort, and this place was gorgeous. The view to the lake was amazing. We were so high in the mountain that we were able to see the entire lake. Around here you have a lot of activities to do if you like the outdoors and nature. Parking here is a little bit tricky, so what they do is usually they will take you to your spot and they will help you a little bit. Once again, I want to mention that because we were so high in the mountains, this area is quite cold. That's why I just bring like good jackets and raincoats just in case the weather is not that great. Normally, we are the people that will spend the entire day at the lake, but my child was very cold all the time and he didn't want to be close to the water because it was cold. So the majority of time, we ended up choosing places that have swimming pools and my kid could enjoy it a little bit more. The next morning, we continued driving and we got to Quebec City Coa Holiday. And this campsite was located just beside the highway. We thought that the sound of the highway was going to be super loud, but thankfully the trees will cover the entire sound and it was very quiet and calm, unless you are playing at the playground where literally you see the cars passing by. Surprisingly, this place was very cute, and once again we just stayed one night here. We realized that we really don't like to be in the cities. For us, crossing Quebec and Montreal was a torture. There were so many cars, so many people around. On the way back, we decided to just avoid at all cost the cities and just stay in more natural areas. The next morning, we woke up super early and drove to our next campsite in Montreal. We wanted to avoid the traffic because it gets quite chaotic during the day. That's why we left at 6 in the morning. Now, if you're wondering, this campsite was very nice, even though it was so close to the city. It has a lot of space. Because we arrived early, we were able to explore a little bit this park and enjoy the amenities that it has. We realized that it is not nice to travel and just stay in a place for one night. It turns out to be super tiring. It doesn't look like it, but we were so exhausted of just being on the highway or seeing cars. That's why in our last campsite, we stayed for 3 days. The next morning we drove and finally got to Ontario. Here we stay in the 1,000 Island region. You have a lot of options of taking boats or cruises to explore the river and the little islands if you want. Our campsite was 1,000 Islands IB Coa Holiday, and it was super cute because they have a lot of green space. Now in this park we stayed for 3 days, as I mentioned before, and it was super relaxing. Sadly, the majority of days on our way back it was rainy, and that's why we were not able to visit more places. And if it was just my husband and I, for sure we will travel more, but because we have a little one, it was a little more complicated. The next day we woke up super early and it was a Sunday when we head back home. We chose that day because usually on Sundays the traffic in the morning is less chaotic. We're finally at home and the big question is how much money we spend in this trip, and it was a total of $6,000 for one entire month for my husband, my baby, and myself. Just 3,000 was specifically for gas. The other 3,000 pretty much went towards all the places that we stay at, plus groceries. We didn't eat much outside. Maybe I believe we went to 5 or 6 restaurants in the entire trip. For the majority of time, we were cooking for breakfast, lunch, and dinner in our RV. Now the price turns out to be a little bit higher because we went on a RV and we were choosing to get electricity and water, and that's why the prices went up. But if you're going on a tent or you just don't want water and electricity on your campsite, the prices will be lower for sure. And that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon. Bye.